It starts often with the way that they touch themselves. And that they're masturbating as quickly as possible because, again, maybe the cameras or the computer isn't in the living room anymore, but you still don't want to get caught, right? So you're like whacking off as quickly and as furiously as possible for the majority of your life. And then, so you've been doing that since 14, and then you're suddenly with a partner at 24, and your whole life you've been practicing to ejaculate in 5 minutes, right? Of course you're going to be ejaculating within 5 minutes with her. Like what other way what would you expect? Like that you've been training for this, right?
All right. Welcome back to Sexy Biz Babe podcast. I have a juicy episode for you today, and it's actually focused towards men. We're going to be talking about how to be harder, last longer, and have better sex. So I have Caitlyn V on today, and I'm really excited to go over this topic. So go ahead and introduce yourself to my audience.
Sure. Thank you for having me on, first of all. I am Caitlyn V. I am the host of Good Sex on HBO Max. I am a YouTuber, sex and relationship coach, and I have a new book that is Harder, Better, Longer, Stronger, Science, Skills, and Secrets for the Best Sex of Your Life.
Ooh, so yeah, I tried to say it like you earlier, and I just like mixed it up. So that's the topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been a sex coach for men, really like focused on men, I should say, for the last 10 years. But before I did that, I was a sexual health researcher. I have a master's degree in public health, and I left my doctorate actually to start my coaching company because I wanted to work more directly with people and get to like experience, the change that I was creating in like a more one-on-one environment.
Yeah, I love coaching. So how did you find out you wanted to do that?
So I've always known that I was going to work in like sex ed or like the sex related field. I didn't really know how to do that. Like I grew up in the Midwest. I didn't know anyone who was doing that. I knew I didn't want to become a sex therapist. So I went to get my master's degree at Indiana University, which has a really rich history of sexuality studies, and McKinsey Institute's located there. And then I got into my doctoral program, and I was just like, so miserable doing research. I just like was stuck in the ivory tower and publishing papers. And, I felt like I was just like publishing for other people in my field, and it wasn't ever like making its way to the people who needed it.
Yeah.
So I left, and I decided I was going to follow my like pursuit of coaching and supporting people, because I'd always been like a sex educator. I was always like leaving class and going straight to teach a group or lead, a class in sex ed. And then I, just like by coincidence, got invited to be on someone else's YouTube channel, talked about squirting. It went viral. And that's why I started my own YouTube channel. And at the time, and this is still true today, YouTube was like predominantly male audience.
Yes.
And so men, especially with like premature ejaculation or performance anxiety, were finding my content, asking me to coach them. So I was just like answering the call. I didn't expect that I was going to be working with men. Like if you told me, even 10 years ago that this is where I'd be today, I would have been shocked. But it's just been the thing that was, showing up and asking me to respond.
Yeah, I love that. It just naturally happened. Okay, so right before the episode, you said a good topic would be to kind of cover what are some of the heartaches and challenges when working with men on their sexuality.
So, I mentioned that I just released a book. It's 4 weeks old today, actually came out 4 weeks ago.
Ooh, go check it out.
It's new. She's new. And when I initially came up with the proposal for the book, and I was like interviewing agents, so many agents said to me, "We love it. We think it's great. It's brilliant. We love you, but we don't want to represent it because men don't buy books." And I finally found an agent. Her name's Danny Siegelbaum. She's amazing. And she totally got the vision. She was like, yep, this book needs to exist in the world. I want my partner to read this book. I want my friend's partner. I want to read this book. So she took it on. Then we started going to publishers. And one publisher after the next was like, "We love it, but men don't buy books. Men don't buy books. They don't buy books on sexuality. No one wants this book. Like, we love it, but like we can't sell it." So it finally landed at Hay House, which shout out Hay House, my editor Lisa. And they were like, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, we love it," and said yes right away. So I knew that it had found its like home. But even still, like the entire process of bringing out this book, at every corner and like every turn, people were like, "But men don't buy books, and men don't want to talk about their sexuality. No one cares about men's sexuality. Women don't care about men's sexuality." So it faces some unique challenges. Now the book is doing great. It's selling like hotcakes. So I kind of am proud to say that we proved them wrong in a lot of ways, but that the belief still exists out there. So when it comes to coaching men, there's a couple of challenges, right? Men are supposed to just know how to be great in bed. Yeah. Right. They're supposed to just organically, like from the ether, like Matrix style, like download how to be a great lover, how to last as long as they want, how to stay hard. We have all these expectations around men's like performance. And it's very difficult for men to identify, I think, what's actually going on, because they just jump to like, something is wrong with me, I'm broken. And like maybe if they even have the wherewithal and the courage and the support to go get help, they often go straight to a urologist instead of to a coach. And urologists are great. They're a huge part of addressing men's sexual dysfunction, obviously. But the conversation doesn't start and end at the physical body, you know? And urologists, I've had so many urologists say to me like, oh my gosh, can I like send referrals over to you? Because men want to come in and talk about their sex life. And like, I don't deal with sex lives. I deal with veins. I deal with the nervous system. You know, I deal with the biomechanics, and the physiology. But like, I can't tell you about, you know, the affair you're having, or that you can get hard.
Oh yeah, like therapy.
Totally.
Therapy.
Yeah. That's not what they're there for. So I think sex coaching occupies a really unique role for men. And then obviously a lot of people, both men and women, are sort of nervous to approach sex therapy. Yeah. And sex therapy can be great too, but like sex therapists are often, you know, trained more to deal with psychological dysfunction, trauma, things like that. So where do you send the average man who just like wants to be able to last longer in bed? Or
YouTube.
Like
They go to YouTube. That's what I found.
Totally. And they want to have, they're like, how do I approach this conversation with my partner? Or like, am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? Could, you know, my erectile dysfunction be more of a function of my mental health or my emotional health instead of like my physical health? Because my testosterone is fine and my blood pressure is fine. So that I think is one of the coolest things about sex coaching as compared to these other modalities. And it still, though, requires a man to like challenge a lot of the expectations and stereotypes of men and masculinity to even seek help.
Yeah. And then especially from a woman.
Yeah. You know, we just posted the other day, like, why should you trust me? I don't have a penis, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, why should you trust me with your penis
what would
when
you say?
I don't have one?
Well, what would you say to them?
What I used to say when I first started is, look, I guarantee I've seen way more penises than you have. And I stand by that. Compared to the average male sex coach, like even the bisexual ones, I guarantee you I've seen more.
That's a lot.
I've been with more. I know men because I've been with men, right?
Yeah, yeah.
If you're a man and you're coaching other men, let's just say like on how to last longer in bed. Let's say like you figured it out for yourself. Well, great, congratulations. But you figured it out for one man, right? Yeah. I, as an individual person, as just a woman existing in the world, have had, you know, dozens of conversations around this over the course of my lifetime with many men and many lovers. Like I've seen more than one man through this. And then as a professional, I've worked with over 300 clients now. Like I can tell you way more about any individual man's sexual you know, function than a man who like has worked on his own, right? Yeah. Like I have a way broader perspective than that. I mean, and then you add in all my credentials and my studies and all of that. But like that alone, you know, when I first started, I was like, why wouldn't you trust me? I've been studying y'all since I hit puberty. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest problems that have come up? Like most popular?
In coaching?
Not in coaching. For men to possibly erectile dysfunction, what are the biggest issues?
So all of them relate to performance anxiety for the most part, one way or another.
So like in your mind?
Yes. Or like just the pressure to perform, the pressure to be a great lover, the pressure not to ask questions, the pressure to just, you know, understand everything about your partner's body and yourself. That can manifest as premature ejaculation or as erectile dysfunction or as delayed ejaculation. Now, you can have any of those three, P, E, E, D, or D, E, without performance anxiety being the core cause of them. But for the most part, that is like that's what we uncover, right? Yeah. Is the pressure to perform, the expectations that are placed on men, the feeling of like not being good enough or not doing enough or not, like being worthy or being wanted.
A lot of mental. It's kind of like women.
So it's exactly the same, right? But like we don't see them the same way because we just expect that men are going to be able to like get it up, get off, and like not complain, right? And that their minds and their emotions and their spirits and their histories and their relationships shouldn't have any impact on that. Like a man is being offered sex, he should be able to perform. And
does it change as you get older? As a woman, I'm getting older, and I feel like it's definitely changed over the years.
You mean like men's performance?
I think I have a broader knowledge as well.
Yeah.
So I think the sex I was having in my 20s was greatly different than the sex I'm having in my 30s. A lot more levels, dimensions, orgasms, so much more. So I think I have a different expectation as well versus when I was in my 20s. And then I date a range of ages as well because, I'm in the middle of my 30s, so I can date like younger, I can date like older. It's kind of like I get the dad or the kid. So a lot of differences. So what have you noticed in changes in their age and their sex life?
One thing that men can pretty much rely on, but not all men, but many, is that when they're younger and their hormones are peaking, they can typically get away with a lot more sexually than they can later. And by get away with, what I mean is like maybe you ejaculate really quickly, but you have 2 or 3 rounds in you, right? Like you can be like, oops, sorry. Okay, next time I'll be able to last 15, 20 minutes. And that can change with age. They often get an erection and are able to have sex even when they're really anxious.
In their head.
Yes, they
maybe
can
there's things going on. Maybe they are having the worthy issue, but then they still do it.
Yes, because their hormones and their body's really like optimized. I think about sex often as just like a function of our ability to reproduce, right? And for 400,000 years of evolution, most people have reproduced at a pretty young age, right? So like it really only mattered that you could get your genetic material out of your body until you were like 30, right? And by the time we were 30, we were grandparents, 400 years ago. Like I would definitely be a grandmother now because I started young. So today it's very different, right? We have people that that like are only getting into like their first real sexual relationship in their 20s or their first real romantic relationship or partnership in their 30s. People have children well into their 40s now, both men and women. So the expectation and what's possible has really shifted. And then on top of that, things are different today for men that are younger because they've had access to internet porn for a longer period of time. So like, men that were born, say in the 70s, let's just say that, they usually had access to like, an older brother's Playboy, or they found a dad's Maxim, or maybe like a VHS tape or something, right? But it wasn't like on
all
your
the time.
phone. Yeah, you couldn't just
disposal.
search for it. You couldn't just like I remember even when I was growing up in the early days of the internet, you had to wait for stuff to load. You couldn't just like click on this and then be like next one. You'd download something that had a spicy title and then you'd wait 10 minutes and then you'd watch it. And then if you didn't like that, you'd have to go back and download another one. And and then the computer was like in the family room. So, you had to like do this when mom wasn't around. Like there was a lot of obstacles to it. So younger men do have some other challenges related to that because like just like we're not meant to eat endless amounts of like sugar and processed foods, but like they sound good to us because that's how our brain operates.
Now they're addicted to not only the phone but the porn and the stimulation
and Skittles and M&Ms and fast food and all that, right? Like we are not advanced enough to handle all of the availability of these things. And so when you grow up and like porn is your primary sex education, you're obviously going to have performance pressure because all you've ever seen is like professionals.
Huge dicks. With women who are happy with quick banging, jackhammering, and then squirting all over.
Their clits never need to be touched. They can deep throw, like
and they're all like 10-inch dicks.
Totally. So like, of course, if that is how you think sex is supposed to look, you're never going to compare that because you're not a professional. You're a civilian. And so they deal with their own challenges as well. And I think a lot of men, they get to their mid-30s and they can't just like get it up like that anymore. Or they realize that like the symptom management that they've done, the things they've hobbled together to deal with premature ejaculation, like, I'll just come earlier, or, I'll just whatever, the tricks, the workarounds that they kind of establish. they no longer are working anymore. They can't rely on them anymore. And
Now they
all
actually
of a
have to
sudden-
deal with the issues.
Now they have to deal with it. Yeah. And you know, to what you were saying, like, I think women also, we're getting smarter all the time. Like I've been interested in sex since I was like 14 years old, but I think that the overall sort of like movement in society is women are more aware of their pleasure. They're more demanding. I hope anyways, because of podcasts like this, I hope that women are realizing that they can ask for more and they don't have to settle for sex that's like really mediocre and really like more based
Not getting
on
pleasure.
the wants and needs of their male partner, which like may not even be what he really wants and needs, but like all of us grew up thinking that sex was for men and it was just something that like women allowed. And I think those days are behind us.
Yeah, I love that. That was one of the biggest shifts is I learned a lot of women would just do it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to always enjoy it. And because I had sex later in life and it was like, oh, I'm not supposed to, I feel like I got a lot more experience with foreplay.
Oh, because you were waiting on
I was
PIV?
waiting until, well, I had a personal goal, which was like, I wanted to graduate high school. So not like terribly long, but like for other people, I wanted to wait till at least then. And so I would get close, but I did a lot of teasing and all the other things. So then I built up such a great foreplay menu that I really enjoyed. And I definitely wanted sex at times. But then I like had that build up and I was like, well, I've reached that where I'm like dying for sex, that I want to reach that before I have sex.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah. I want people to reach that like every time they have sex, right? Like where you're like, not like, oh, okay, it sounds nice, but like give it to me.
Yeah. And then also on the other side, I like women to think, okay, this is going to be enjoyable. What if I just go with the next step? What if I just go with the next step and feel into your body? Because we often get too much in our heads. And so if you do want to have sex, I guess consciously, but not consciously, you're just like, okay, I want it, but I'm not there yet. Go with the next step. Go with the next step. Go with the next step. And then you may get there. And if not, you can just be like, oh, okay.
And like, so for women that are in like maybe like a long-term relationship and their partner is the one that's usually initiating sex and they're like, oh, I don't know. But usually when you do have sex at the end of it, you're like, oh, that was great. Why don't we do that more often?
Yeah.
That like, saying, okay, I don't want to sign up all the way for penetration right now, but I am willing to let you rub my feet, rub my neck. I'm down to make out. I might be down for oral sex. And like I'm open to the next thing, but we can get really, I mean, myself included, when I feel like I'm signing up for everything, I don't want to sign up for anything at all because I'm not like, it's like Tuesday at 9 p.m. I don't know that I'm going to want to be penetrated in 30 minutes, but because I'm in a safe, loving relationship, I'm willing to try.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just like getting into your body. And since I do feminine energy coaching, that's kind of what I help with is when I usually help with like alpha women help get into their feminine energy, feel their body, go to the next step and not be too in there controlling. So that's like one of the big topics. That comes
totally.
up
I
to
identify with that.
Yeah, it's helped me a lot. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions about male sexuality?
I think the biggest one for both men and women is that it's straightforward and simple.
Yeah, it's so complex.
Yeah, we treat men like machines. And then, the opposite side of that is that we treat women's sexuality like it's complicated. Like men's is straightforward and women's is complicated. And by the way, we do no one any favors, right? Because like my sexuality at times has not felt complicated at all. It's felt like very straightforward, easy, manageable, enjoyable. Great. Like, and that can have me feeling like, oh, am I doing... Is it allowed to be that? Is it allowed to be easy? Like, isn't it supposed to be difficult and complicated? And on the other side, we treat men like machines. Like, if you put in this amount of tokens, if you change the oil, if you put in a new air filter, if you take this pill, if you go to the urologist, whatever, then it should just work. Yeah. And therefore, we're not treating men holistically. We treat them like a body, but not a mind, a spirit, a soul, a relationship. We just don't give men the permission to really be human inside of this space in particular.
Yeah, I would say as I'm getting older, I date older, and you're familiar with the erotic blueprints. So I've found that my last couple partners, they are more energetic and sensual. And so it was different for me. I'm a shapeshifter, so I like all of them. And I tend to just match whoever I'm with. Yeah. And I found that maybe my previous partners were like very sexual or like like sex focused, fast, easy to get hard. And then these ones, it was like more in their head, more sensual, more slow, more foreplay. And that was just so new to me, so different. And so I really had to learn different ways. And they were more in their head. They were more like, okay, the lighting has to be good. I have to have a come down after work. I need a little bit of space. I need to feel safe. I need a little bit more connection first. And so it was interesting to me and also delicious. But I would love to hear, like, what would you tell people who maybe can relate to that?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, congratulations to you and your partners for being able to name the things that we want and need. Because sometimes we're like, I want to perform, I'm not, and I don't know what the disconnect is or what it is that I could create, you know, for the context that would support me having the kind of sex that I want to have, right? So I think that, you know, it takes a lot for a man to be able to say, hey, I need a little more connection, or I need us to move slower, or I need 15 minutes to get the lighting and the pillows and everything like just right to create the kind of environment that I can relax into. Like that takes a lot to have that self-awareness and to like insist on it too, out of a space of like self-respect too. Yeah. So like kudos to them. And I think we as women sometimes we can get stuck in the stereotyping of like, oh, but you're a man. Like, why do you need those things?
Like am I not attractive?
Totally.
Do you not like me?
Right. And we make it about us instead of about them. Yeah. He's trying to tell you what he needs, right? And you're like, but if you were a real man, you just, or like, but if you loved me or if you found me attractive or, you know, like we can take a failing erection very personally. Like he wasn't getting hard and therefore it's about me and he's not attracted to me and all that. Instead of like, he's a whole complex human being who may have a lot of things going on that are impacting his ability to get hard.
Yeah. What are some of the ways that you help men, maybe if they're coming to you and they're struggling to get hard and stay hard? What do you tell them?
Well, usually I run them sort of through the system that I developed, and this is what my book is about. So I always start with their physical body, and that's because I do want to know if there are hormonal imbalances, if there's pre-diabetes or diabetes, if there's any sort of injury that would help us to understand why it is that that's happening. And then also in their physical body, I also want to understand about how they masturbate, the way that they touch themselves, the way that they like literally physically interact with their body and with the partner's body. And once we've sort of got that baseline set, then I move into the mental body because I want to understand the thoughts, the things that you say to yourself, the like ticker tape that runs
like
through your mind. Oh, just about sex across the board.
Like
during
shame
sex,
even.
outside of sex. Yeah. How do you think about sex? How do you talk about sex? How do you talk about yourself, right? Do you tell yourself, I'm not enough, I have to perform, I'm not going to be loved? Or do you have resentment that's like built up, you know, and that may come after, but what are your thoughts about sex itself? What did you grow up thinking about sex? Did you have a religious background that taught you that sex is bad and dirty? And how does that live on in your mind, right? And then we go from there to emotions, right? And that's why I say resentment may come up in that space. Maybe they know that they're resentful of their spouse or their partner, but maybe we discover that during coaching, that they're emotionally suppressing. And when you're suppressing your emotions, you're also suppressing your body, you're suppressing your penis. Like if you can't get hard, well, consider that you might be expending a ton of energy trying to keep your emotions down. And therefore you're also keeping your body down at the same time. Right?
Yes. This is what I coach with women. And I'm like, it's so similar. Yeah. It's like that shame, the judgment, those thoughts, they really are weighted on you. It's heavy.
Absolutely. And the body's very symbolic, right? Like whatever's happening in here is going to also like play out in the body.
Yeah.
And then we move through their relationship. So, is the relationship a factor? Is it a cause? Is it the reason, right? Like if you can get hard on your own, you can get hard when you wake up in the morning, when you masturbate or with your mistress or whatever, and you only can't get hard with your spouse, then it's probably not a blood flow issue, right?
Ooh,
it's probably
what
relational.
Yeah.
I mean,
pressure.
There could be so many things, right? Like guilt.
Pressure to perform, guilt.
Because you're cheating. Resentment that she, that you feel like she rejected you so many times, or that after you had kids, she wanted you to have sex differently or something. And instead of like working together on that, y'all drifted apart. And now you have like built up things that you just never said that just like needed to be aired in the relationship. Like communication was bad. And maybe communication was bad 10 years ago, but you're still like living in that world where things just haven't ever gotten cleared out. And then also like your spiritual body, right? Like, are you having sex that feels aligned with who you are, that feels like true and authentic to who you are? Or are you just performing because that's what you think you need to be doing? Or you're just using sex as like stress relief, and therefore it's not really inhabiting the exalted sort of divine position that I wanted to play in your life. And so I work with all the men that come to me and that work with my team. We go through all of these steps, and usually what happens is we start with the most dense stuff, like the physical stuff, and we sort of move towards like the cultural and spiritual stuff. And by the time they come out the other side, we've sort of like cleared out the pipes, because sexuality is something that happens naturally, organically. You know, I said 400,000 years, and that's just humans. It's just Homo sapiens.
It's just natural.
It's extremely natural. So if it's not working for you, then it's probably that something is in the way. And that could be as simple as, you know, your sensual blueprint. And you don't know that. So you don't know that. You just feel irritated, and you just feel like you get stuck in your head, or you're thinking, you know, and you end up avoiding sex because you don't know how to make it work for you and how to have it feel connected. Yeah. And you don't have access to a lot of erotic creativity and ideas and examples of other people doing it, because we're just looking at porn to educate us. And that really creates a pretty nasty mix of ingredients that are going to lead you to not having a great sex life. And we just kind of pull them apart piece at a time.
Ooh, so juicy. I love all of that. Go check out her stuff. I'm like, okay, go check out that book. Like, I'm just going to shout her out. Like, obviously. Even if you think you're a pro, you could probably learn something.
Absolutely.
I want to read it.
Yeah, you should. I should have brought you one.
I'm like, I want to read it. I have someone that might enjoy it as well.
I have some advanced reader copies in my car. They're not like the hardcover.
Cool.
They're like the preprint edition.
Yeah,
you can totally have one. You could have two.
Love it.
Yeah, I think that like we're just the men really need, actually someone just said to me this morning, he's like, I've been working on my sexual challenges for a long time, and I've read a lot of books on them, and it wasn't until your book that things like finally all came together, that I finally understand what's going on with me.
Sounds like it's a little deeper, and you're going through the different dimensions of tapping in.
Yeah, I didn't want to write another book on like techniques and tips. Yeah, I mean, I have 14 digital courses. So I have courses on how to last longer in bed, how to get and stay hard, yoni massage, lingam massage, anal massage, nipplegasm, squirting. Like I already have all these digital courses, how to penis enlargement, thrusting in sex positions. Like if you want to learn any of those things, I got you. I got videos for days on all of those, and courses and all kinds of content on those. So like what I wanted to do is create the course or create the book that like captured my coaching methodology, which is something that I've not been able to put in a 5-hour, 24 video course, because it's more dense than that. It needed 75,000 words to like really, you know, to really like soak in.
I love that. Definitely people check it out. And then why do you think it's such a big issue for men to last longer?
Oh my God.
This is a big question.
So many reasons. Well, and I want to hear your thoughts too. I think that, you know, I think it starts often with the way that they touch themselves, and that they're masturbating as quickly as possible, because again, maybe the cameras or the computer isn't in the living room anymore, but you still don't want to get caught, right? So you're like whacking off as quickly and as furiously as possible for the majority of your life. And then, you know, so you've been doing that since whatever, 14, and then you're suddenly with a partner at 24, and you know, your whole life you've been practicing to ejaculate in 5 minutes, right? Of course you're going to be ejaculating within 5 minutes with her. Like what other way would you expect? Like that you've been training for this, right? And then I also think, you know, it's evolutionarily advantageous for a man to ejaculate earlier, because he's more likely to pass on his sperm, right? If your ancestors could ejaculate in under 3 minutes, they were more likely to give birth to a child than someone who took 5 or 10 or 20, right?
I didn't know that.
Well, I mean, like just think about it in terms of like, you know, a society or a world where there's so much danger, where, you know, you could get, you're having sex at night and you're rustling in these bushes or whatever, and, you know, a saber-toothed tiger attacks you and eats you. if you can ejaculate sooner, you're more likely to pass on your genetic
Survival
material.
of the fittest.
Exactly. And, if you think about it in those terms, then like what makes a man fit is being able to ejaculate quickly. Then so we have more, if you think about like the history, all of our lineages, we've got more premature ejaculators in our lineage than none, right? At least for good chunks of time, maybe not in the last like few generations, but like certainly before.
Yeah.
So you have that. So you're working against your body. Then I think that you add on to that the pressure that men experience, and pressure can be held in the body as like constriction, tightness, and tension. And constriction, tightness, and tension lead to orgasm, right? Like when we're squeezing really hard and, even if we're not doing it consciously, but our muscles are holding a lot of tension in them, we're that much closer to orgasm
for
when
men.
we even get into bed. Yes, for men in particular.
It's different for women, right? I was like, it's different. From my coaching, it's usually different.
Yes.
It's like the releasing, right? I'm curious.
So for women, there's sort of, if you're a woman and you have trouble experiencing or getting to orgasm, usually where I start by asking is, when you have orgasms, are you relaxed or are you tense?
Yeah.
Right? And if she's relaxed, then I typically tell her, okay, crank up the tension. I want you to get in there. I want you to squeeze. I want you to like be adding tension to your body that moves you closer to orgasm. If she is used to tensing, then I'll tell her to move towards relaxation. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Side note, I'm such a squirrel.
Side note. No, it's important stuff, because you're totally right. But like for myself, different people respond to stress in different ways. And for the majority of my life, I have been what is called a redliner, which means that stress and tension actually increase my desire for sex. I'm actually like hornier and more turned on. This was really difficult in college, like finals exam week. I'd be like rubbing myself against the chair, like writing this essay, like I just want to go home and masturbate.
Oh my God, yeah.
But there are times now when I have more like chronic stress, like the chronic stress of writing the book. For the last like 3 months of book writing before it came out, I was just like, I don't even have a libido. I'm like not even interested in sex. And then when it came out, suddenly I'm like way more relaxed, and then my stress is more acute, and I'm back to like feeling more aroused. But all of that also relates to tension, right? Like tension that I've been carrying for a long time works against me. Short-term tension can like actually increase my orgasmic capacity.
Okay, great. So what helps men last longer?
Reducing tension.
Reducing tension, like breathing,
somatic practices, moving their body in such a way that, a lot of men are unconsciously exercising in such a way that it actually increases tension in their pelvic floor or throughout their whole pelvis. They don't even know that they're doing it. If you don't have great form, or it's not even just about form. Sometimes you can be doing it absolutely correctly. I think like kettlebell swings where you're pumping your pelvis forward, that can sometimes add additional stress and tension onto the pelvic floor. There are other like lifting exercises I know that can also, and you want to engage your pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor like zips up the bottom part of your body, right? Like we do want a strong pelvic floor. But if we're strengthening a pelvic floor that's already tight and we're not doing anything to relax it, and it's almost like you're just exercising from here to here, you're just like, you're strengthening your bicep, sure, but if you're not extending it the full way to like actually let the muscle have the full range of motion, then you're just going to be tightening and shortening the muscle over time. So a lot of that can happen in the pelvic floor as well. So thinking about reducing physiological tension like in the pelvic floor, but also mental tension, the stress and anxiety and performance pressure that we bring into the bedroom, relational tension, emotional tension, like all of those things can help to have a man be able to control his orgasm and last longer. But then the last thing I'll say is I think we normalize it.
That's okay.
1/3 of men deal with premature ejaculation, so at one point or another in their life. So it is a lot, right? A lot of men deal with it. But yeah, we just sort of are like, oh, minute man,
Yeah, and I think a mix of things. Like sometimes it's okay to have fast. Sometimes it's great to elongate it for hours. And I think a mix is great. So that's my view.
I want you to be able to control. So whether that is we have 10 minutes for this quickie, or we have an hour and a half for our session, or we have 4 hours on a Saturday, like whatever it is, I just want them to be able to have absolute control and say when they are going to ejaculate.
Okay,
that's
so
the dream.
What's a good way for men to start being able to control their orgasm?
Well, identify the tension. Identify the source of tension.
And then when they're aware of it, be able to like maybe breathe through it.
Yeah, like breathing practices.
Tools.
I typically give men a lot of breathing practices. Like
breathing
just
is huge
simple,
in sex.
like 4, 7, 8 breath, just like designed to get you out of fight or flight and into your parasympathetic nervous system, because that's where blood flow comes back from your extremities into the center line of your body, where you're able to get an erection. You're able to come from a more grounded, centered place, because you're more in your body as opposed to like ready to fight or flee or fawn or freeze, right? So addressing those things. Also masturbating for longer and longer periods of time. If you're using your hand, switch to a toy. Switch to one of the gajillion strokers that exist out there. Oh my God, 10 years ago, there was nothing. I mean, there's literally nothing.
Now there's so many different things.
Oh my God, there's disposable strokers. There's vibrating strokers. There's strokers that will like suck and squeeze and turn and
all
do
the different things
your women's vaginas will never be able to do.
Yeah.
Those all exist. You don't have to go to that extreme, right? You can just buy something that is relatively cheap and inexpensive and like, you know, but made out of body safe material from a trusted source, and use that instead, because those are better at mimicking the sensation or replicating the sensation of an actual body than your hand is. So if you've been masturbating 3 minutes as quickly as possible with a tight grip, a body's not going to do that. And you're not using lube. Like that is not a recipe for what actual sex feels like, right? So you have to practice how you intend to play. So one of the very first things that I have my premature ejaculation clients do is just get up to 20 minutes in masturbation.
Ooh, okay. And also, okay, little plug here. The business that I work for now, Kiru, they do have Power Shot where you can sync onto the phone on the Feel Connect app, and there's endurance testing, edging testing, there's breathing exercises, a little bit of nutrition facts, and it keeps your stats.
So you can tell like how long it was that you went for.
And you can get like a PR, and you can like work with it to last longer, be stronger, and then look at like where you're at. So that's really great. Cool, and that's a new product that we are selling.
Yeah, I tried to get them to send me the AI Silver Lady vagina when they sent me the demo, but they sent me some porn star.
Well, you know what? I have one. So
you got the Silver Lady?
I do have the Silver Lady. It's Argenta. She's an AI person. Yes. I just did a demo today.
She looks a little bit like a cross between like the Statue of Liberty and George Washington on the quarter. Like I don't know how to put it. Like she looks like
she's hot.
She looks like she's like a sexy superhero type.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll give it out to you in March.
Oh my God, yes, please do. Yeah, because I'm being, you know, that I have a lot of fake vaginas in my office. And like, I have like every stroker that has been made in the last 10 years, I think. And they're all like kind of fleshy and they all look like pussies. And, you know, I have no problem with that. But I was like, oh my God, one that like is like a alien AI, like superhero pussy. I was like, hook it.
Superhero pussy.
I want superhero puss around here. I mean, trust me, I have plenty. Some of the ones that I have look like, they look like really, really fancy thermoses. You know, like,
thermoses.
you know, like talking about like I inherited like an old school thermos. We pour coffee out of it. Like they look like a thermos from Star Trek. Like the men's sex toys have really advanced. So you can use one of those that vibrates, sucks, twists, turns, connects to an app, tells you how long you're doing. Like what a great way to extend your time and not have to like keep a spreadsheet. You know, because the app is doing it for you.
And it's fun. It can be fun. Like it vibrates. It has like I wish I would have brought it, but it has a clear silicone, has the TPE, and then it has 2 vibrating bullets on the outside, so you can like squeeze and move, and it's dual ended. Yeah, that's a new good product. So
and those are great for training with, because some of them are like really, really, really good. They're like they're like you if you can resist orgasming with that, you're gonna have a way better shot with a woman. Now that doesn't mean that it's a direct translation, right?
Yeah,
because all the time I have guys that like. They're like, I can never reach orgasm through oral sex, but I can't last more than 3 minutes through vaginal sex, right? And sometimes it's, again, coming back to like men are complete beings with like minds, that like sometimes there's mental stories and emotion around being inside of a vagina. That is what's actually creating the experience, because they're like, this, you know, because they built it up. It has so much significance. Maybe they grew up in a religious household where like that, you know, that was like the holy grail. Maybe they waited until they were 30 to have sex. And so they're like, this is, you know, I've been wanting this for so long. So all of these things can contribute to his ability to last or not.
I love that. So I mostly work with women, and I just love that it is very similar than what I do with women. And I actually did just work with a man, and it was a really good before and after. In fact, I got to post the testimonial video.
What was it about that? What did I say that was
just
similar?
the shame. The shame, the thoughts, the mindset, it's just a lot of it is mindset, spirituality, past experiences, going through and breaking it down. It's not just like going to talk about it. It's reprogramming it in your mind. So now you have a different perspective when you're having sex. It's the same thing for women.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in a religious small place that, sex was like shunned, and who I naturally am is like very, let's just say very freaky. I'm not vanilla. Like when I first started having sex, I bought a bondage kit. I was barely 18. I wanted to try everything.
Yep.
Right out.
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
And like then I say this sometimes on my episodes, but like 50 Shades of Grey came out and they made it seem like you have to be damaged to want BDSM. And I was really confused.
Yep. You're like, this is just coming from an organic place. And
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, was there something that I missed?
Like, yeah, right. I mean, people ask me sometimes like, oh, you knew you wanted to be a sex educator at the age of like 14. Is that because of trauma?
Yeah.
And
Doesn't
like,
have to be.
Certainly that is some folks' stories, but it's not mine. I had a lovely relationship. I figured out how to masturbate early on in life. I just knew that orgasms were cool and that more people should be having them. Like there was no trauma. I mean, in fact, my parents had like the chillest response to me masturbating.
So
they were
cool.
like, oh, okay, cool. Like, maybe in your room. Like, there was no shame. I grew up in the Midwest. It's not like we had a lot of conversations about sexuality. It wasn't like front and center, by any means. It was just sort of like neutral. There was like no conversation about it, but there was no shame around it either. And I'm very grateful to my parents for how they raised me. Yeah, because I think it's what paved the path for me to be a safe space for people to talk about it today.
Yeah, shame is the lowest vibrational energy. And so that's the biggest thing I tend to work on with people.
Yeah, because if you're stuck there, it's very hard to go anywhere from there.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite things.
Entirely possible. That's why we have coaches.
Yes, coaches are awesome. What do you think? Do you think men are actually more insecure with their sexuality and sex than women usually?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Gosh. My inclination is to say probably that men are probably less secure sexually than women are. And I think
they have to prove themselves.
Yeah. And I think so let's think about what is the definition of insecurity? It's like a feeling of like that it's lacking certainty and security and safety in oneself to know that you are okay, acceptable, worthy, capable, right? And I think that for women, the bar isn't that high because you can be a sexual woman and not even enjoy sex, right? But I think the bar is very high for men, especially when you add porn into the mix, that like they're supposed to be really, really good and they're supposed to be really big and they're supposed to be really competent and they're supposed to be all these things. So if you're not any of those things, where does your sense of security come from? It can't come from like, oh, I just know that I've got a big dick or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like your sense of security usually comes instead from having a positive experience, having great lovers that like help you to hone your technique, maybe learning from places on the internet, from YouTube, from courses. But I think that the bar is high, like where they have to get to in order to feel secure in sex is higher. And since a lot of men feel like they're lacking in experience or they feel like, women haven't chosen them and therefore they're not having as much sex as they want, et cetera, all of those things can end up being barriers to a man like really feeling secure in his sexuality.
Wow, that just makes me feel a little more tender towards men.
Yeah. Yeah. My work has definitely shaped in very, very positive ways the way that I experience men and the way that I see them. I have like a more holistic, softer sort of like view of them. And I want to impart that. This is why I think this conversation is so important to have with women as well. Yeah. Because like the biggest gift that we can give to our male partners is like allowing them to be human and to recognize in ourselves where our expectations of them fall along really strict gender roles. Lines. Yeah, right. Where we're like, I want to personally, just speak for myself. Like I want to have freedom and permission to express any which way. Like I want to be able to be my like little, like I want to have my like little non-binary energy moments. I want to be able to be like super femme and masculine. And I want to feel all of that spectrum throughout the day, from like when I'm acting as my CEO self and having to be like in alpha mode versus like when I'm with my lover and, you know, he's like got me by the hand and the arm and he's just like leading me somewhere and I get to like really be soft and femme. And we don't really give men the same permissions.
Yeah. Okay. We talked about something a little bit before the episode. If we bring it up just a little bit, a little teaser, is that also goes with bisexuality for men, where it's really accepted with women, and not only accepted, but kind of pushed. And
It's like baseline bisexual. Yeah.
Yeah. And like also they make it for the male gaze often, which, So women's bisexuality is like, oh, yay, you're bisexual. Do it for me. Will you kiss? And we're like doing it sometimes, I'm not including me in this, doing it for men. But like, sometimes that happens. Whereas the opposite is men can't be bisexual because then it takes away their masculinity. They're not strong enough. Right. Or they're gay.
They're pretending to be gay, right? Like how many times have you heard this about a bisexual man? He's just at the stop on his way to being fully gay. And like I can speak from personal experience that is not true.
That is not true. Yeah. So do you have anything else to say with that? So I am going to talk in our next episode about this. It's a little teaser. But do you have anything to share about that topic?
On male bisexuality in particular?
Yeah.
You know, because I have, you know, close to 1 million followers and, you know, I've had the pleasure of speaking to thousands of men directly over the course of my career. And all I'll say is that like whatever it is that you're interested in, gets you off or whatever, just know you're not alone. Like you are just so not alone. You are not the only like heterosexual man who has a fantasy of like sucking another guy's cock while your girlfriend watches. You're not the only one who's ever made out with your childhood best friend who is also a young man and like had early sexual experiences with another guy. You're not the only, and beyond that, like if you've ever experienced sexual assault or traumatic experiences, you're also not alone. Research shows that it's at least 1 in 10, probably 1 in 8, and potentially more men have experienced some kind of sexual assault, molestation, rape, whether earlier on in life or as an adult. And so, you know, the thing that prevents men from getting the support that they need is feeling like they have to figure it out themselves and that they're alone. They're the only one. They live in isolation. And neither one of those is true. The support that you want, need, and deserve exists. And you're so not alone.
Yes, 100%. I agree with that. Okay, well, before we end the episode, is there anything else you'd like to add? Maybe a biggest tip for men?
Yeah, you know, I think my favorite takeaway from our conversation today is like, so I'll add this. This is a concept that I love to teach, and it is alpha and beta bias. Okay, it comes from research, and it specifically came from the pharmaceutical research that was being done. I want to say in like the 70s, 80s on men and women. And you know, if you've ever studied the history of birth control or some of the other development of these drugs, what they would say in research is like women are just small men, right? So if a man takes 100 units of this medication, then give a woman 80, right? And they would kill a woman, right? Like, you know, they're not the same. And at the same time, sometimes they would do research on men and they'd say, oh, this isn't at all applicable to women because women are not like men, right? So these are two different biases that we have. One, that men and women are the same, and the other, that they are different. And the answer is neither.
It depends.
It depends. We are both the same and we are both different. And so anytime that you find yourself sort of, you know, edging too far on and feeling like that we're so different, our sexualities are so different, men are like this and women are like this, consider that actually we are the same in a lot of ways. And if you feel like, you know, we are the same and you have the same expectations of men as you have of women, like consider that we also are different. It takes more work to hold that middle ground. It takes more work to walk, you know, in the fine line between the extremes, but that's where the truth always exists.
Ooh, I love that. Oh, and I did have one other question.
Yes, please.
How can women support men in becoming a stronger, more controlled lover without shaming them?
You know, the first thing that comes up for me is coming from a place of desire instead of shame and should, right? Instead of like, you should be able to last longer, or, you know, there's something wrong with you that you like this kind of porn, or you want to have sex with, you know, these sorts of people or whatever. Like, coming from a place of like, I really desire sex that lasts 20 minutes or longer. I really desire to have orgasms through penetration. And I desire you to figure out how to last longer so that I can get there. I think if we can just have like a little bit more time and be a little more like conscious about how we're doing that, then like it would be more enjoyable for me. Because often, at least the men that come to me for coaching, like they really want to be great lovers. They want to do a good job. They want to please.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're not clear enough on what that takes. And we have to be the one to initiate that conversation, because they might really want to have that conversation and not even know where to begin. So if you're conscious of it, then like just do the thing that's best for all involved, and begin the conversation from a place of, it would be so pleasurable. It would provide me so much joy if I could have this. I desire this so much. Can we work together to get there?
And that goes with a lot of my feminine energy tips, is making it more like a team, and like they can provide something for you, and then linking it to a energy of a joy, a feeling, pleasure. So, yep. You just naturally went into that feminine tip. And yes, ladies, listen to that. And now, where can everybody find you, follow you, check out your book?
Yeah, thank you. So you can get the book at harderbook.com.
Nice.
You can find me on YouTube by searching Caitlyn V. You can search it spelled correctly, or you can search it any which way you want. If you add squirting on the end, you'll definitely find me. But you can search Caitlyn V on YouTube, harderbook.com. And I'll share with you my website, where we have tons of free guides and free downloads and resources and masturbation meditations and all those 14 courses that I mentioned as well.
Check them out.
Yeah, please check those out.
Check her out. And thank you everyone for listening. And then I put a little teaser. I'm going to do a fantasy about bisexual threesomes on my next episode. So go check it out.
Hot.
Ta-ta.
Thank
Awesome.
you.